The lightsaber is an elegant and powerful weapon for both the individuals that utilize the light and dark side of the Force. Each individual lightsaber is different from its counterpart, as the weapon's creator constructs a tool used specifically to fit their own desires and requirements. Because of this fact, there have been some really obscure and frankly crazy lightsaber designs over the history of the Jedi and Sith Order, and today we will be counting down the top 6 craziest lightsaber designs. Number 6, the Inquisitor lightsabers. The lightsabers used by the Inquisitors are a unique weapon in regards to it being dual-bladed, and also able to spin upon command of the user. But the part that really makes the weapon a strange tool is that it can be used to not only hover, but fly. If the blades on the weapon spin hard and fast enough, it will levitate the user into the air, and they can then guide the blade to a desired location. The lightsaber design was widespread throughout the Inquisitor ranks, and was constructed to allow for the easiest use. The blades would automatically adjust and switch angles in hopes of overwhelming the opponent going up against it. The strategy behind the construction is to shock the opponent and throw them off right away, allowing a momentary advantage for the wielder. Number 5, Coons lightsaber. At first sight, Coons lightsaber is nothing special, simply a single-bladed weapon with a single-hand grip. But upon closer inspection, another blade on the opposite end is revealed, making the weapon a dual-bladed one. The thing that makes the weapon so unique, however, is not that it's dual-bladed, but that the hilt only accompanies for the use of one hand. This means, in combat, the practitioner of the weapon needs to be highly skilled and effective with this particular one, as the weapon in the hands of a less skilled warrior is just as dangerous to them as the opposition. The weapon was a highly personalized one, and was built to allow all the advantages of a dual-bladed lightsaber whilst simultaneously carrying none of the drawbacks. The lightsaber was not only extremely specialized, but overwhelmingly difficult to defend against, and almost all that encountered it crumbled over the superior construction and skill needed to use it. Number 4, the light pike. The light pike was a weapon used by the Imperial Shadow Guard and the Jedi Temple Guards during the Clone Wars era. The weapon was highly specialized and required hours upon hours of practice to be utilized effectively in combat. The Shadow Guards used a single-bladed variant of the weapon, which allowed them to keep their enemies at a distance, similar to a lance. The Shadow Guard variant was designed to be used against non-Force users, as if one closed the gap, the wielder would be at a disadvantage. The version used by the Jedi Temple Guards were different, however, and the hilts were constructed using lightsaber-resistant material, meaning that although the hilt allowed for a large target, it would not break if struck by a lightsaber. The Temple Guards also used yellow crystals and constructed all the sabers to be dual-bladed, with the second blade being slightly shorter than the primary one. Again, this was constructed for use as a distance weapon, and was made for exceptionally devastating power strikes. However, the second blade allowed for somewhat improved close counter engagements. The weapon typically covered the entire length of the user, and was a powerful one to overcome in a fight. Number 3, the Proto-Saber. The Proto-Saber was one of the first lightsaber blueprints ever made, and although the hilt itself was nothing too out of the ordinary, always sporting a single blade, the thing that made it unique was that it required a battery pack in order to operate. The hilt is quite similar to a regular lightsaber, although a wire continues down the base of the hilt where it is then attached to a battery pack worn on the wielder's belt. As said earlier, this happened because this was one of the first designs for a lightsaber, and the creators had not yet discovered how to construct one without a constant power source attached. As you can imagine, this resulted in very different lightsaber duels, with the duelists protecting the battery and the wire as much as their own limbs, because if any were to be damaged or destroyed, the user would quickly be killed by their adversary. Number 2, the lightsaber guard shodo, or the tonfa. The lightsaber tonfa is not only a strange weapon when referring to the hilt, but also because the blades themselves were significantly shorter than regular ones, making them shodos. The weapon was most often dual-wielded with the user in possession of another weapon of the exact design. While the lightsaber tonfa allowed for excellent defense in the hands of a skilled user, its offense was less effective. Because the weapon was angled the way it was, power blows were near impossible to execute, thus forcing the user to fall back on jabs and quick strikes. The weapon also necessitated the wielder to get extremely close to their opponents, as the blades were very short. The lightsaber also had a very exposed and large hilt compared to the blade, which if to be used most effectively facilitated the need to be constructed using lightsaber-resistant material. The weapon was built to primarily be used in waiting games, staving off an opponent's attacks with superior defenses and then retaliating quickly with jabs and cuts. Number 1, the Light Whip. The Light Whip was an exceedingly rare design for a lightsaber, which instead of featuring one solid blade, used a blade that was flexible and used identically to a regular whip. The Light Whip was an excellent offensive weapon, as it was usually much longer than a regular lightsaber blade, and also could be used to wrap around an opponent's blade and tear it from their grasp. The weapon was also great at a distance, keeping adversaries off balance and confused as to which way the whip would go. The light whip could also get past the defenses of even the most skilled duelists, as the whip was long and difficult to judge. However, there are several hindrances accompanied with the weapon. First, it was near useless in defensive situations, with oftentimes practitioners implementing long solid lightsaber resistant metal whips into the weapon to compensate for the near useless defense. Along with this, the light whip was not a sufficient weapon for parrying and required long powerful movements to use, destroying the possibility of more quick strikes. In order to successfully use the light whip in battle, one must be extremely aggressive and offensive, as the second they are overwhelmed and forced on their back foot, the fight is over. Yet another way to defeat a light whip duelist would be to carry a second lightsaber shoto as to allow for superior defense against the unpredictable weapon, as demonstrated by Luke Skywalker. To sum the weapon up, it is very brutal and effective, but if one possessed the necessary tools and knowledge to defeat it, chances of the weapon's success would be drastically reduced, regardless of the practitioner's skill. So those were my top 6 craziest lightsaber designs. Go ahead and tell me down below which one you think is the craziest, and if you want to hear more about lightsabers, I have 2 videos down below, one outlining how lightsabers work, and another counting down my favorite lightsaber designs. Thank you so much for watching, and if you would like, feel free to suggest more top 6 lists for the future. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.